W. We have good news from Continental Cablevision. Starting March 1st, 1997 Anno Domini, Chat with Glendora is going to go back to being seen every Saturday on Channel 19 South, every Saturday. You don't have to wait every other week the way you have been since August of 1995. Barbara Gelman just called me, and we thank Barbara Gelman for that. And it will be simultaneously every Saturday at 3 p.m. on Channel 32 North. And the reason for that is that if it were to be simultaneously on Channel 19 North and Channel 19 South, 3 p.m. every Saturday, then we would have to take two tapes up. One would have to go to Peekskill, and one would have to go to Ossining. This way we just have to do what we've always done for all of these years. Since 1993, we just have to take one tape to Ossining. And we have new Steve up there. And old Steve has got a good job with CNN. And I believe Minor has a good job with PIX, WPIX or something. So that's good that the people are moving on and up, if that's what they want. So good news. We thank you, Diane Rainey. Franklin left a message for Richard McCormick, who is the CEO of U.S. West, who bought Continental Cablevision and Hofstadter and all the rest of them. Franklin told Paula that he wanted Mr. McCormick to call Glendora, and instead a woman called Glendora, a vice president. And she has something to do with law and with human relations. Okay. So yesterday Franklin called Mr. McCormick again and left a message for Mr. McCormick to call, second time. And Glendora left a message for Mr. Lillis, quite succinctly saying, is there anything you want to say to Glendora before she takes Amos B. Hofstadter to the United States Supreme Court? And so that brings us up to today's work, which is being postponed because there's so much other things impinge. And Ginny Cat, yeah, come on over, Ginny Cat. She's decided to get in the desk drawer. And so here it has started, Glendora versus Hofstadter, going to the United States Supreme Court. And the first thing up is the informa pauperis and the affidavit, the declaration that goes with it. I'm working on this 15 minutes a day. You have 90 days from the time you get the mandate. Is it from the time you get the mandate, or is it from the time you get the decision? Anyhow, I got 90 days to write my petition for writ of certiorari to the United States Supreme Court. And new Steve, or a lot of Steves or whatever, somebody got the schedule all mixed up Saturday, February the 15th. And A Chat with Glendora was not seen at 3 p.m. Saturday, February 15th at its regular slot because things are all mixed up. And so New Steve put it on Sunday at 4:30 on Channel 19 South. And then there's going to be a make good on it at 6 p.m. Wednesday on Channel 19 South. Third matter on Glendora versus Hofstadter et al. Is Judge Lisa Margaret Smith. she hasn't made the decision on the summary judgment yet. Maybe she's waiting for some kind of a cop-out, such as the program goes back to being every week. Well, okay, but that's not going to do it. There are still the $225 million damages, or whatever they were, and there's still all of the make-goods for all of the time that we lost and all of the free speech that we lost. The damage, of course, would be for taking away a person's free speech and for breaking the law. It would be compensatory and punitive damages. And the laws that were broken were, in public access, it's first come, first served. Glendora was there first. And our program should have stayed right where it was every Saturday instead of being bumped every other Saturday by another program. So there's that law that's broken. And of course that entails free speech, improper abridging of free speech. See if I can find some jokes for you. Bob had an interesting job. He was a specialist. He was the one who put the one cashew in a can of mixed nuts. And what do you call a veterinarian who specializes in elephant skin disease? A pachydermatologist. And Bob says, I don't feel like I'm a success at my job. Why? Well, whenever they hire a new employee, they first bring him to me to view the company from the bottom up. And when Peter came home from work, his wife said, how was it today, dear? And Peter says, oh, it was terrible. The computer broke down and I had to think. Now we are going to move on to the worst cable operator we have. That would be John Malone, Bob Magnus, and Telecommunications Incorporated. And we're going to report to you on their law breaking and on their crooked lawyers and on corrupt judges. And this, folks, here they are at last. These are the minutes of the depositions of Franklin and Glendora taken by Ben Wiles. And it is no wonder, folks, that he didn't want you to hear these. And it is no wonder that he wouldn't give them to us. It is no wonder he didn't want them to get into the courts, he didn't want the judges to see them, and he didn't want you to hear them. But here they are. And this one is a deposition of Glendora, started on June the 17th, 1996. And I'm going to read you a few pages of it. Wiles says, do you have any other residences besides 21 Greenridge Avenue? Glendora, no comment. Wiles, and is that a refusal to answer the question? Glendora, no response. Are you currently employed? Glendora, no. Wiles, when was the last time you were employed? Wiles, read that in the Informa Pauperis. What was the job you had when you were last employed? Read the Informa Pauperis. Of course that. Do you know what an Informa Pauperis is? Yes. Do you know what an employee is? Did you receive a copy of the Informa Pauperis? Do you know what employee is? Did you receive a copy of the Informa Pauperis? Read it. Do you understand what my question is? Glendora, read it. You understand what my answer is? I understand what you're saying, Wiles says, but you are not answering the question. Glendora, read the Informa Pauperis. That information has already been given to the court. Wiles, I know, and I can ask you questions even if you provided information. Glendora, no argument. Do you want to do? Wiles, I can ask for information and I need you to answer the question. Glendora, I answered the question. Read the Informa Pauperis. I am not going to answer every question of yours 3 times. Wiles, I think one answer would be enough. Let's see to that then. Glendora says, here is a copy of the Informa Pauperis, so you get it out of your file. Wiles, do you have a copy of that Informa Pauperis petition with you? Glendora, yes. Wiles, could you show it to me? Glendora, no. I really don't think you can ask me any questions about my financial status. You are really wasting your time. Wiles, let's mark this as an exhibit. Glendora, show me what you are marking as an exhibit. Wiles, she will as soon as she marks it. And it was a declaration in support of request to proceed in form of paupers was marked as Defendant's Exhibit A. Wiles, do you identify this? Is that your signature on the second page of the Exhibit A? Glendora, yes. At the bottom of the page, yes. And do you recognize this as in form of paupers petition or declaration in support of request to proceed in form of paupers that you submitted in this case of Glendora versus Cablevision Systems? Glendora, I think I already said so. Wiles, in the answer to question number 2, you talk about previous employment, and the entry on the form says 1983 MCI, 3 days as a telemarketer. Glenn, you hold all the questions on the IFP. That IFP was approved by Chief Judge Grisey. He is the one who examined it, and he approved it. You have any questions, you ask him. Wiles, I am referring to employment information for now, which I think is the same as the employment information you supplied in the IFP in this case. Glendora, same answer. If you have any questions, ask Chief Judge Grisey. Wiles, the previous employment is 1983. Were you ever employed any time between 1983 and the present? Glendora, same answer. This IFP was approved by Judge Grisey. Wiles, I'm not asking about the IFP. I am getting basic employment background. Were you employed in 1983 by MCI? Glendora, what does the IFP say? Wiles, well, is the IFP accurate? Is the entry on the IFP accurate? Glendora, that is a superfluous question. Prior to assuming it is accurate, prior to 1983, what was your employment? Glendora, I don't think it's relevant. How many years ago is 1983? Wiles, well, I'm simply trying to get some background information as a witness. I am going to go back until high school and college. What year did you graduate from high school? Glendora, no comment. Wiles, isn't this the 50th? Glendora, I can't hear you, Mr. Wiles, stop. Wiles, isn't this the 50th reunion of your high school class this year? Glendora, if you knew, why did you ask? Wiles, and assuming you graduated high school in 1947, did you go to college after that? Glendora, what is the relevance of your question? Wiles, it's simple basic information to get. Glendora, that is not an answer, Mr. Wiles. Wiles, to get information, are you refusing to answer based on the grounds of irrelevance? Simply, if you are going to refuse to answer on that ground, we will note it down and see if the judge wants you to answer or not. It's easier if you say that I am not going to answer instead of the silences. Glendora, it's like if it was easier if I just added UCCA Columbia Cablevision doing business as TCI. I will not take anything from you because it's easier. Wiles, it's easier for the reporter. Glendora, don't try to con me. Wiles, have you ever had any post-high school education? Glendora, objection on the grounds of relevance. Wiles, have you had any professional training? Glendora, I don't know what you mean. Wiles, training in professional training, which would be post-college education, or it could be professional training where you go to a trade school to learn a particular profession. Glendora, objection on the grounds of irrelevance. You remember that Mr. Brian Sullivan would not say where he went to school. Brian Sullivan's the one who's head of this whole Northeast TCI mess up in Albany, Clifton Park. Wow. Anyway, Glendora says, you remember that Mr. Brian Sullivan wouldn't say where he went to school. Wow. He wouldn't say where he went to high school. Glendora. And he wouldn't say what town he was brought up in, would he? Do you consider yourself, Wiles says, to be an expert in the field of cable television? So you see, I got rid of him on that. Do you consider yourself, says Wiles to Glendora, to be an expert in the field of cable television or public access programming television? Glendora, restate your question. Mr. Wiles, could you read it back? The last question was read back by the reporter. Which? Glendora asks. Public access programming or on cable television. Now, restate your question completely, Glendora says. Wow, do you consider yourself to be an expert in the area of public access programming on cable television? First, let me ask you, Glendora says, what are the other public access programs? What other public access programming is there? Wow, do you understand the question? Glendora, no, I would like to know before I answer the question, what other public access programming is there? Well, do you understand the question I asked? Glendora, is there any other public access program besides cable TV, yes or no? Wow, I have no opinion on that. Glendora, okay. Well, when you can understand the question that you asked, then I will try to answer it. You're refusing to answer now, though. Is that correct? Glendora, no response. Wow, I take it from her silence that she is refusing to answer. Glendora, objection, lie, railroad. Wow, let's assume for the next few minutes we are talking about the period January 1996. Would you stop mumbling your words? Glendora says. I cannot understand what you are saying. He is the worst mumbler, to say nothing of bumbler and bungler. Glendora, no, wow, you have to sit a little closer where you can hear better. Glendora, I do not want to sit any closer. It's a matter of enunciation. Stop chewing your words. Glendora, the question I asked about January of 1996, did you produce a public access program? Glendora, as to what locality? Wild, any locality. Glendora, in any locality? Wild, yes. Glendora, I did not produce a public access program in California. Did you produce one in any locality? Glendora, I think you have to specify what locality you're talking about. Wiles, did you produce a public access program in any locality? Glendora, objection on grounds of vagueness. Wiles, do you know what a public access program is? Glendora, well, you wouldn't specify what other places had public access program besides cable TV. Are there any other places where public access programming exists other than cable TV? If you will narrow your question, Glendora says, public access programming to cable TV, maybe I could answer the question. Maybe I could answer it. Are you aware of the program whose title or name is A Chat with Glendora? Wiles says. Glendora, yes. And is that a public access program? Glenn, yes. And was it a public access program in January 1996? Was cable cast over one or more cable television systems? Yes. And now you see, that's a double question. He never should have done that either. He should have said, was it a public access program in January 1996? Yes. Was it cable cast over one or more cable television systems? Yes. Wow. And over which cable television system was it cable cast in about January 1996? Glendora, TCI. Wiles. Any others? Glendora, objection on grounds of relevance. What is this lawsuit about? Who are the defendants in this lawsuit? Are any other cable television systems lawsuits in this action? I think there's only one cable television system that's in this action, and that's TCI. Wow. Do you know whether the cable television program A Chat with Glendora was a cable cast over cable television systems other than TCI in January 1996? Glendora, that's the same question, and now I have the same objection. Wiles, no, it's not. I didn't ask you the name. I asked you if they were. Glendora, same objection. Irrelevance. Wiles, do you produce a cable television program entitled A Chat with Glendora? Glendora, you asked that. Wiles, I don't believe I did. Could you answer it again? No, I'm not answering it again. How did you answer that question when I asked it previously? You have a court stenographer. Ask her to read you the record. Wiles, could you look back for the question? The last testimony was read back by the reporter. Wiles, do you produce the television program entitled A Chat with Glendora? Glendora, you asked me that. The answer is yes, and don't ask me again. Wiles, and does anyone assist you in producing the television program entitled A Chat with Glendora? Glendora, specifically, what do you mean? Do you work with anyone else when you produce the television program? For instance, in what way? In any way. Sorry, that's not an acceptable answer. Specify what you mean. Give a for instance. Do you, when you produce a television program, is anyone operating the camera, any other individual operating the camera? Glendora. No. Wow. When you produce a television program, do you produce it or make the tape? First of all, you produce the cable television program on videotape? Glendora, I don't know what you mean by produce it on videotape. You mean, is the program videotape? Is that what you mean? Is the program videotape? Wow. Well, you can answer that question. Is the program videotape? Yes. And do you produce a final version of the videotape that is used for cable casting in a studio or Glendora? Try again. Okay, folks, that's the first 15 minutes. Isn't that outrageous that a lawyer should be so incompetent? This is Ben Wiles. He got fired, you know, for Cohen and Dax, a rinky-dink law firm up in Albany, and who try to make us believe they're representing billionaires, John C. Malone and Bob Magnus. No way. Okay, red on TV up to here on 2/17/97, Monday, 1:53 p. It would be nice to read it all to you. I'll read as much as I can. Moving on, TCI. Is Franklin's research at the New York State Supreme Court Library, and he is tracking down what we shall do about Koenig saying he represents billionaires, Magnus and the other ones, and Perkel saying he represents only John Malone. Yet when you call Denver, as Franklin does, and talk to the legal department of TCI, they say that all defendants are, they say that Magnus and Malone and telecommunications are all represented by Perkel. They never mention Cohen Dax. And so Franklin is tracking this down, and he's doing a great job. And here he has a notice of motion to compel attorney to show authority to act for the party. And of course Fox comes along and railroads and ignores it and puts it under the rug. And that's going to be very serious for Fox, because if the Fox doesn't deal with this, then all of these cases are going to have to be litigated over. So I'm at the point now where I'm getting ready, and I don't have the time right now to write this motion that these attorneys has to compel to show authority to get to represent the party. Okay, big issue. And Fox and Rakoff railroaded this through on Glendora versus Malone. And Jones, who says censorship is alive and well in America, you can censor in America. Jones railroaded it through in Glendora versus telecommunications. So maybe these lawsuits will all have to be adjudicated over again because of failure in judgmentship. And what is this? This is an appellant's brief, and it is on Glendora versus telecommunications, where TCI turned off the audio when I was reporting on Judge Connor, who was caught red-handed ex parte and had a telephone conversation with me, and I had recorded that conversation, and it was being played on TCI, and TCI turned off the audio. And Jones comes along and says, that's okay, you can censor in America. America's a place where you can censor. On Friday, February the 14th, Valentine's Day, I called Koenig, and I called Salisbury, and I called Perkel, and I told them that I wanted a conference with the Judge Rakoff chambers. There's a whole lot of things. Judge Rakoff has 60 days to rule on a motion, and this motion has been fully submitted to him since November the 26th, and here it is February the 17th, and he hasn't ruled on it. And we have a rule in the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, that if a judge doesn't rule on a motion within 60 days, he has to report it to the whole court. And that is a ripped down, very bad job by Kin and by Rakoff, substandard job. And that's on audio tape 859 too. I don't know if you want me to play it for you or not, but it certainly gives you a lot of insight into how bad judges are, and how incompetent they are, and how ineffectual they are. And I have that audio tape if you want me to play it to you. Over here we have the Rule 9 statement, where the whole purpose of the Rule 9 statement is to reveal to the court what stock symbols the companies have public tradings under, and so that the judge can see whether he's a shareholder or not, and if he's a shareholder, he mustn't stay on the case. And so the whole Rule 9 statement was faulty in Glendora versus Malone, in Glendora versus Telecommunications, and in Glendora versus Magnus. And for instance, in the mail yesterday, TCI is going to make a new offering for the telephony group, telephone, for the telephony group. And they're going to have 2 new stock symbols. And they list, in telling you in this proxy statement, and that meeting is going to be March 12th. You want to go with me? And we can really tell John Malone off. It's going to be on March the 12th, 1997 in Denver at the company's headquarters. And in telling about this, they list all kinds of stock holdings that are not listed in these crooked lawyers' so-called Rule 9 statements. So we're going to get out another letter brief to Magistrate Fox about that. Something else in this envelope, and that is the minutes that Judge Fox ordered to be given to Glendora without charge. And I thank you for that, Judge Fox. And here are those minutes. And this is of the February 17th conference, where Glendora challenged the authority of Koenig and Salisbury and Perkel to be representing her defendants. Now you see, that's very important, because if the defendants have been falsely represented, then they haven't been represented, then they are in default, and therefore they owe Glendora $600 million. And this tape you have heard. So I guess I won't read these to you, because you've heard them. But it was nice for Judge Fox to get these to me without charge. Now, who paid for them, I wonder? It should be John Malone. And it's interesting that this Glendora pro se and that crooked Wiles handed in the name Glendora last name when he shouldn't have on minutes in Glendora versus Malone. So it's refreshing to see this with the right name, Glendora. Now here is the stock offering. This is Telecommunications Incorporated. I got to put that block. Telecommunications Incorporated. Dear stockholder, you are cordially invited to attend a special meeting of stockholders of Telecommunications Incorporated, TCI, which be held at the company's corporate headquarters located at 5619 DTC Parkway, Englewood, Colorado, on March the 12th, 1997. At 10 a.m. local time. They're all pretty local. A notice of the special meeting, a proxy card, and a proxy statement containing important information about the matters to be acted upon at the special meeting are enclosed, and I have already handed in my proxy. And it says for or against, and I am against. Proposal to approve the amendment of the restated certificate of incorporation of Telecommunications Incorporated to A, authorize 2 new series of the common stock, par value $1 per share, of Telecommunications Incorporated, to consist of 750 million new and so forth. You don't need the details. And a corresponding increase in the total number of authorized shares of common stock. They need money. Malone has done such a rotten job running this company that he's put it into the ground. And so he needs money, and he needs it fast, because somebody else is going to come along and buy Bob Magnus's shares, and Malone will be out. And I will show you Malone's signature on this. And it looks like he's going to be chairman of this new company, this new spin-off. They spin off, spin off, spin off. Roll, roll, roll. There's his signature. John C. Malone. The murderer of public access. The murderer of public access TV production. Did you know that TCI owns Sprint? Yeah, they bought Sprint. Did you know that TCI owns Cox Cablevision? Yes, they bought that. Did you know that Robert Wright, now the president of NBC, used to be the president of Cox Cable Television? Did you know that TCI is trying out telephones with cable TV telephones in Buffalo and in Kansas City? And wireline residential telephone service. It doesn't sound to me like it's going to fly, does it to you? And don't give him any money. And remember all of you, never to buy a satellite named Primestar, because that's owned by TCI. Ted said that he has a key job at Loco. His mother-in-law says, yeah, it's his job to lock up at night. And He lost Glendora versus Cofault Cablevision on July 29, 1994. And James L. Cofault lost his job on March 1st, 1994, and is now in North Carolina. He was president of Cablevision Systems Corporation, a position that has never been filled since James Cofault was fired. And here's the citing of that case in the back. And the citing of the Second Circuit case. Cablevision really lost all around, all of these court fights. Glendora sues the Sullivan to Krausman defendants for robbing her of her right to appeal by denying her poor person relief when she has been declared IFP over 5 times. There's no question, it's nothing that you can dispute. Glendora is a poor person. Glendora sues Charles L. Bryant for robbing her of her right to jury trial twice. Glendora sues Charles Dolan through Cablevision for violating her freedom from cable TV operator editorial control. And press for her victory costs in Glendora versus Cofault of $1,000 for the return of $350 plus 9% statutory interest for the subpoenas of February 1996 and $120 for the audio tape they ordered the fourth quarter of 1995 plus 9% statutory interest for the litigation costs of all of the above, for fair and reasonable compensation for the labor on all of this, and for the work of opposing the derivative action lawyer fees in 96 Civ 1400 Sidney H. Stein, which the Dolan Totter Quinn management should not have ignored and should have handled. Glendora sues Donald N. Silverman because he gave her a right and then went back on it. You cannot give Glendora a right in court and then go back on it. Sullivan through Krausman never sent Glendora a copy of their odious order. This is irresponsible. Judge Bryant suggested to Robert Callaghy he file a Rule 68 offer of judgment to stop Glendora's costs from accruing. Robert Callaghy did not know enough to do it until Judge Bryant told him on October 26, 1995. Put the bug in his ear. You see the minutes that Judge Bryant ordered on December 11, 1995, Glendora should have without charge, but never sent Glendora a copy of the order. As it turned out last week, Capizzi, the head of the Southern District Reporters, PC, private corporation. Now, they aren't a court entity at all. They're just a group of stenographers, very greedy, trying to rip off everybody they can. Anyhow, she sent a paper to Judge Bryant, and he signed it and approved that Glendora should get a refund on those minutes of $103. The record does not engender public trust, nor devotion to the public good, nor show good behavior, as every Article 3 judge must. Article 3 of the Constitution of the United States said there will be United States judges. It turns out that these are United States district judges, and they shall show good behavior. Justice Rehnquist wants the judges to have an increase over the $130,000 a year they get, public ripoff. With the benefits Charles L. Bryant is reaping protecting Tolan through Cablevision, he does not need an increase. Charles L. Bryant is 74 years old, and although appointed for life, he should realize he is hurting America. Wherefore, Glendora, plaintiff, pages 2 through 18, shows you, within, do show why she is entitled to the relief specified in her paragraphs 1 to 42 to recover from defendants compensatory and punitive damages of $181 million, the cost of this action, and any other relief that is just and proper. Huntington Station, New York, on February the 11th. We included this article from Newsday about Glendora. We include this article from the New York Times when Glendora beat Cablevision in the New York State Supreme Court. This article on the front page of the New York Law Journal, cable host wins right to air. That's very ignorant. Cable companies do not air. They cable cast. Their signal goes through a coaxial cable. And multi-channel news. And many more there were. I didn't send them all. And that's it. Somebody at Cablevision said to Glendora, you can't put up a slate that says you can pick up a free Glendora Happy book at 111 New South Road in Hicksville. Glendora says, I don't see how Cablevision is prejudiced by that in any way. And it was left in the air instead of on the cable. And I never heard, but sure enough, on Friday night, that program was cablecast and the slate was not changed. The teenagers asked Sid and Sal, their mother and father, what they wanted for their 18th wedding anniversary, and Sid and Sal said, we would like our own telephone. And the doctor told Arthur that a middle-aged man such as himself should not shovel snow, that he could have a heart attack. So Arthur went home and he said, son, will you please shovel the snow? And his son says, yes, Dad, I'll start immediately. Arthur had the heart attack. And there had been several warnings of earthquake shocks in the area. And so Dorothy and Bill decided to send their young son deep into the interior, away from the danger of the earthquake, with an uncle. And in 2 days, they got a telegram from the uncle that said, I'm returning the boys, send the earthquake. I was reading to you, this is the third appeal of Judge Bryant, Charles L. Bryant, that I have had. And the first one was successful. The second one is in the United States Supreme Court. And I haven't heard from them yet because Bryant is sloppy and he doesn't write a neat final order. And so I don't know what the United States Supreme Court's going to do about that. But this one is the third one. And this is because Bryant stayed robbed Glendora of her trial the second time. That's what it means. He's protecting Cablevision, Dolan, Todd, and Quinn for reasons that you have to guess at. But I think it's pretty obvious what they are. And so I was telling the United States Court of Appeals where Cablevision finally capitulated and was giving up taking Glendora off of TV. And these are the series of letters that you know and have been read to you, where Former writes, Charles Former, pro Former, writes to Glendora, and Glendora writes back to Former. And so this is reproduced for the Second Circuit. And it is not flattering to Mr. Former. And this was included to the Second Circuit, that New York, these really means New York State Supreme Court judges in New York County are getting reviews. And I say that all judges should have that, and that the federal judges should be next. And I include in here the Federal Appellate Judiciary in the 21st Century. This is judges speaking to other judges about judges' problems. And of course they're whining about the caseload. And the reason we have such a big caseload is that we have so many bad judges that people appeal their decisions. If they would make just decisions, people wouldn't appeal. And that would take care of a lot of the caseload. Their concern is not justice and constitutional vigilance, but workload, increased pay, and collegiality. From the outside, Glendora could see that you Second Circuit judges had problems, but reading your essays, one to another, Glendora sees you have even worse problems, obliterating your call by and duty to America. Glendora took your robbery of her first trial to the United States Supreme Court. The clerks wrote back for an opinion of Charles L. Bryant, and you know that story. Okay, this is page 41. This paper's falling apart just like the courts. All of these lofty quotes of judges, all of this case law, all of this Moore's federal practice. And what do judges do? They rule by the seat of their pants. It is not good behavior coming from Charles L. Bryant. It is frivolous behavior. It is self-interest behavior. It's malicious and vicious. And Attorney Callagee will have to answer Glendora's expose of his negligence, inattention, professional incompetence, lying, cheating, stealing, cover-up, contempt, falsehoods, misinterpretations, and other irresponsible conduct as grounds for disciplinary action, exclusion from the United States District Court, Southern District in New York, and the United States Court of Appeals, Second Circuit, and disbarment here on the week that the American Bar Association is having its annual meeting. C.L. Bryant has failed to carry out the Second Circuit mandate of January 11th, 1995, when he lost to me, a pro se. His mishandling of the case has elongated into 5 huge folders. 9 inches high equals 7 feet of shelf space. There was and is no need of this. His immaturity runs away with his judgment. Glendora has proved since his decisions of February 28, 1997, he cannot rule on the merits, the law, and the facts. And she wrote to the other 2 branches about it. She wrote to Congress and President Clinton. Can you do justice to this 7 feet of shelf space? No. The saddest repercussion is that these reports on Charles Bryant are being seen and heard by the teenagers who see and hear the evil but true record and call Glendora and give their opinion and mention Charles Bryant by name. It's a very, very sad thing. Okay, page 42. An appellant's brief can be only 50 pages. All right. And then I talked to them about the committees on the Judicial Council of the United States. And then I tell them that, remind them of their decision against Gerard Cattell, who's been banished to Connecticut. He used to be here in the Southern District of New York, White Plains, about his failure to exercise judicial making authority. His failure to make a decision. The cable TV franchise between Cablevision and the town of Oyster Bay, it's up for renewal on April 1997. You and I have a lot of work to do. We must get a copy of the proposed new franchise, and we must find out if there's going to be a public meeting on that, as is required by law. And we must make sure that into that franchise is written our own public access channel, which is the law. Any cable system with more than 21 channels has to provide a full-time designated public access channel, and Cablevision doesn't have one. We have to share with Telecare. No more share Telecare. We want our own public access channel. And then we also have to make sure that these stay, and that they are not taken away from us. And there's quite a few documents that I want to go over to the Oyster Bay Town Hall and see. Oyster Bay had the right to examine any officer of Cablevision. I want to know if they ever did. An annual report due within 60 days of either semi-annual repayment or certified by a certified public accounting firm. I want to see that, an annual report given to the town of Oyster Bay by Cablevision. An annual report showing all revenues of Cablevision and all expenses in standard categories. I want to see that. Something else I was going to tell you. See it. A semi-annual report showing the total number of subscribers within the town. Got to see that. The town shall have the right to examine any officer of Cablevision Systems Long Island Corporation. Did you examine any of them? The officer in charge of enforcing this agreement with Cablevision is none other than Louis Yavoli. And they have to post a bond of $50,000, and they have to post insurance of $5 million, and it has to be in the town hall, and it has to be available for the public to see. So you and I have got to get over there and see that. We have a lot of work to do before April 1997 this year. This for you, that there isn't time to read. Here's a left-hand bunch, and here's a right-hand bunch. And so those will have to go on until some other time. We did 4 half-hour programs today for this week of February 17, 1997. Until some other time. We did 4 half-hour programs today for this week of February 17, 1997. $1,000 a year they get, public ripoff, with the benefits Charles L. Brown. assessment about TCI, the lawsuits we have against TCI.
Flex Tech PLC, General Communications, Home Shopping Network, Interactive Network, EMX Incorporated, International Family Entertainment, Silver King Communications, TSX Corporation, Turner Broadcasting System, United Video Satellite Group, Video Jukebox. They didn't mention Time Warner. On the other hand, Turner Broadcasting, I think, heard of Time Warner. The right message 3:4:51 p.m. Friday, February 7th. Message 4:52 p.m. Friday, February 7th.
It's a joke of the day.
Message 5:5
Whatever it was.
Friday, February 7th. This message is in reference to the date of business by Joshua Koenig. There was nothing in the file for him. This business date is Friday, February 7th. I can be reached at 8:05 to 6:15.
Totally unintelligible. Corny Koenig.
a.m. Monday, February.
Imposter lawyer.
That's Goodwin, Glendora. Hi, respecting jury. What do you know that we're thinking about you?
Becky Carley, doctor.
This morning in court. I had a little incident yesterday where I was putting up my bed for my sleep. I sprained my ankle and everything's able to come tomorrow. So give me a call when you get back just for a couple minutes. I'd really like to hear what happened. Okay?
Yep.
And, so thank you, very good. Have a talk to you. Bye-bye. Message 7:106 p.m. Tuesday, February 11th. Yeah, hi, this is Danny of Local Kelly, USA. Thank you for calling. I'm sorry I was busy. I cannot speak on the phone. I'm glad you're here taking care.
Canon, USA. I don't know what his name was, do you?
Message 8:5.
I don't have to go there anymore.
p.m. Tuesday, February 11th.
They resolved all the problems. This is this Canon PC copier. It's a sweetheart. It's really a ding. Oh, it's great.
February 11th.
See, and it has
Hi,
a...
thanks. This is Dolores. I just wanted to tell you that Dan's surgery was done today, and it was a success. And he's doing well. He's resting comfortably, and he'll probably be in the hospital about 4, 5, 6 days. And everything, we're very optimistic. Talk to you soon. Bye now.
Finally, I'm happy to report my cable television is disconnected. I told him I wanted it disconnected on December 16th. It took him until February the 10th to disconnect it. So I am rid of a cable TV operator. Machine got shut off again. Boy, oh boy. I wish they'd stop doing that. There were 25 calls on there at least. That was through Friday. And then there's the Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday calls. We got to straighten that out, folks. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 testing. Do you hear this microphone over here? Oh yes, I hear it very well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 testing. Let's play it back now, see if we got a crackle. Hooray, there's no crackle. I want to go try the extension cord and hook up a light to it and see if that causes a crackle. Okay? All right, put this on pause record. Okay, now we're testing with a light and an extension cord to see if that causes the crackle. And there's Katie Cat over there. And the money on the wall. March the 7th, the 2 boys who stole those blanks, see those blanks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? They're going to be sentenced. March the 7th to 5 years probation or more. Well, we don't know what they're going to be sentenced to. That's up to the judge. Lacaba. Okay, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. pause, record. Feedback. I think our test is over. Our test is over. We don't have any crackle, and it was the battery in the microphone. Okay. Of course, the real test would be hook it up in the living room. But then that wouldn't be complete because I can't carry the monitor into the living room. It's too heavy. I think our test is over. Okay, let's cue the... Let's see, folks, I think I've got... Carl helped me set the telephone answering machine. Now let's see if I've got it. And I wanted you to hear these messages before they were erased.
Here is today's joke. Messages. 3:14 a.m. Monday, January 2.
The clock isn't set.
This message is for Jennifer. I was wondering if I could get in touch with her.
No,
I'll
Jennifer.
give her a call back. Maybe tonight. Bye.
Message 3:50 a.m. Monday, January 2. Hello, this is David Deitch at Cablevision returning your call. Please give me a call back when you're available.
Thank you, David.
6:25 a.m. Monday, January 2. Hello, I'm not sure if I have the right line. I'm calling for Jasmine. My name is Tommy. She can call me at 256728. Thanks a lot. End of messages. Enter command or star for help.
Hey. The time now is 9:36 a.m. I just called the police. And I think there are injuries. All I can figure is that the red car was coming south on Greenridge. I gotta get my coat on. Yeah, red car was coming south on Greenridge. In other words, going this way. And that the blue car was going east on Rutherford, and that the red car came up and hit that that old fire post, which should have been taken down long ago by the city of White Plains. And then skidded over and came over and hit the tree. Now there is an elderly woman in the passenger seat. And I just called the police, as I say. And with the wind chill now, it's 10 below. The date is February the 17th, 1997, Monday. This is at Rutherford and Greenridge in the city of White Plains. And this is so-called President's Day, which is a loafer's day, and the Japanese are right about Americans. It's nobody's birthday. Okay, here are the police and the ambulance I've called. I'm going to get in out of this wind to videotape this. This is mighty cold. The woman is getting out. Oh, she looks in good shape. Oh, that's good. Okay, we're videotaping Franklin. they just took the car away. Did you see the car that was here? They just made him move it. Anyway, that was the car that hit this car. That was the car that hit this car. Now, the car that was just pulled away came up to this stop sign right here in Rutherford going west. And he went through the stop sign and he hit this car. And this car has a man of about 70 years old. And I guess he has been taken out of the car. And he's going, there's a man right there. Okay, he was hit broadside, it looks to me. Yeah, a lot happened when I called the police, didn't it? She's a good cop. One time she was bad, but she's a really good cop. Here's the driver of the car. And here's the woman who was in the passenger. Don't sign anything. The poor guy, how can he sign anything? Being in an accident like that, don't sign it. I need your license, registration, and insurance card, said she. We had another fire truck that came and went. Maybe you saw that when Franklin was videotaping. We had 3 fire trucks. So that's a count. 3 fire trucks, 1 ambulance, and 2 police cruisers. Oh, that's what the poor guy was signing. He's got to pay for it now. He's got to pay for it. That's why he had him sign it. That's that crooked Abby Richmond. They did that for Franklin. Made him. Oh, no, that's no good. That's no good. That's really crooked, these ambulances. There must be a lawyer around here somewhere. Somebody's got to be a lawyer. And this is my neighbor, too, at 1A. Somehow or other, he was involved. My neighbor was the driver of the car. It is very slippery. I don't think the pavement is slippery, but see what we had last night with a ½ inch of snow. Then the temperature went up, and then it rained, and then it made the pavement icy, and it hasn't had time to melt. Good Lord, that's good. Nobody was really seriously hurt. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 firemen. Now what are they going to do with the poor lady? Somebody should be helping her. She shouldn't be going over there alone. She's getting into the cruiser. Okay. Apparently they are going to the hospital. But then Abby Richmond, what did they have to do with it? Taking them to the hospital. And apparently the gentleman driver is going to the hospital. Now we don't have a tow truck. So that's next up. We have a policeman directing traffic. And that man who was helping out immediately when it happened, I don't know where he appears from. He appeared here at another accident. And now he disappears. Okay, these are two policemen taking the two victims. Let me show you that, see, White Plains did away with all of the fireboxes on the street corners. And they haven't got around to taking this one away. Might be too cold out here for the camera. The wind is bad. Oh boy, here's a fireman with an axe. This is February 17th, so-called President's Day, Loafers Day, nobody's birthday.
Okay. I mean, we're gonna move this, put it to the side so we don't have to move.
Okay, we're going to fade down. It's so sad. That is so sad. I feel so sad for those people, all of the people. Apparently the elderly couple in the maroon car were going south on Greenridge. Okay, going south on Greenridge. My neighbor who lives across the hall was going west on Rutherford, and apparently he's looking down south on Greenridge because that's where he lives and that's where he's going to park, and he starts to go, and he didn't look north on Greenridge again, and that's when the other car came through the intersection and he hit him. Oh, I feel so sorry for all of those poor people. Tenants and neighbors, you must join, because Joe Bruno on June 16th said that rent control and rent stabilization will cease to exist. We have to stop that. Joe Bruno, Majority Leader, New York State Senate, December 5th, 1996. We need our rent control. You need your rent control in the state of New York. And so we must oppose this, and I want you all to join tenants and neighbors, of course, unless you're a landlord. And I imagine that Mr. Bruno and the other supporters are getting well compensated in some way or another to get rid of rent control. And remember, the landlords have $1 million lobby, and what do tenants have? Nothing. And so they're the ones who are going to be robbed, as all of the little people get robbed by the big people. So I'm going to give you their telephone number. There's 212 Manhattan. That's easy to remember, isn't it? And 695, remember that. That's a route near the Fog's Neck Bridge. And then the last part is 4314. So join tenants and neighbors and join this fight to stop the greedy landlords from robbing us of rent control. Play that back. Did you hear that beautiful audio? So it was what we said. Why didn't you tell me that? Franklin, thank you for going to get us a new battery for our external mic. And happy Valentine's Day. I love you. Landlords and badge legislators in the state of New York, in Albany. We have to watch them. I know a few things that my landlord is not following. Section 300 of, you know that I'm reading the New York statutes. Okay. I think you know that I'm up to Book 22. And Book 22 is the multiple dwelling law and the multiple housing law. And Section 300 of that law is the registry of the owner, and it is on or before July 1st, 1954, every owner of a multiple dwelling shall file with the department, that would be the building department of the municipality in which you live, in this case White Plains, a statement and duplicate on a form to be prepared by the department substantially as follows: the owner of the record, the street number or other identifying description, the type of construction, frame, brick, stucco, etc., the height of the building, the number of stories, and the number of rooms or apartments for which design. The number of stories doesn't refer to what you get from the landlord when he tries to rent it to you, and the number of persons in the occupancy. Now this is not a certificate of occupancy. That is something different. What else is wrong about this landlord is no superintendent. And it's 16 units. And you must have a superintendent live on the premises or at least 200 feet away from the premises. What else is wrong with this landlord is the drainage, improper drainage. Every time it rains, the cellar fills with puddles. What else is wrong with this landlord? The sewer smells, and it should not do that. What else is wrong? There should be a smoke detector in every one of these 16 units. And I believe that the landlord is trying to get by with just having a smoke detector on the first floor in the hallway of each building and on the second floor in the hallway of each building. And this is my reading, and this is the file for the New York statutes, and this is book 22. And I'll just give you an idea, folks, of the grid, how many more books I have to go. There's 7 shelves, and I'm at the very end of the 4th shelf. So you see, I think I'm almost halfway or a little over halfway maybe. But here's the grid of them. Excuse me. Of the books. General business, insurance. I'm not going to read those volumes, certainly. And judiciary law, I finished that one, and that reveals all of the things that judges are supposed to do and never are. And labor law. And this is the number of the book. You see that one goes from 61 to what? 70. And then the volume, and then the number of the law, the chapter of the law. And so, going forward, let's get you another page here. Here are volumes 71 to 80. Penal law, that is not of interest to me. And here's 81 to 90, books 81 to 90. And so this is the grid, 91 to 100. Religious corporation law, I looked that up when people in my church were doing things that they should not have been doing. And 101 to 110 books. Tax law, uniform commercial code. So someday maybe I'll finish them, but I got good news for you on this account. Hey, look, here's the last one. It's book 130 in the Supreme Court rules. Now this is the consolidated laws of the state of New York. They are called statutes. But I rejoice to tell you this, I've finished the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. That's a little more like it. There's only 81 of them. 81 or 84, something like that, and then there's forms. So that's a little more like it. The state really ought to clean up its act. The state doesn't have any pro se clerks. The state calls informa pauperis poor person. And so this is the reading, as I say, I'm almost done, the multiple dwelling law and the multiple housing law. And that's section 83, that you have to have a janitor or a housekeeper if you have over 13 units. This is what the multiple residence law looks like. See, the multiple dwelling law was a 1929 law. Pretty old, huh? It's old as I am. I was born in 28. And it applies to municipalities in New York of 325,000 or over. Now that's only New York and Buffalo. And then the multiple housing law was 1954 on or about, and it applies to cities of 325,000. So that's pretty much you and me, and certainly the city of White Plains, which isn't even 100,000, I don't think. Okay. So we will work on this, and then we will either file a lawsuit, or we will file a complaint with the building department, or, but anyway, we will get this resolved. You see, you have to know your rights, and you have to know the law. New York Shield keeps calling us. So we just tell them we don't have any money. It's amazing how quickly they hang up. You know, there was that joke that I tell you that the minister told in church. A man went to buy a hearing aid, and the owner of the store says, well, I have one that's $2,500 and I have one that's $1.98, and well, what's the difference? Well, the one with $2,500 has a lot of gadgets and advanced electronics and technology. Well, what's the one $1.98 like? Well, it's a button on a string, and you put the button in your ear and you put the string in your pocket. You'd be amazing how loudly people start talking to you. Everybody.